Now, I just wanted to ask you a question. Now, you are the son of two eclectic parents, okay? Your
Mm.
mother being, a beauty queen, your father being, a heartthrob in his heyday and the actor. Now, how did your parents manage to balance this? I mean,
Yes. So that's a very interesting point. Now, whatever I am, it is because of my upbringing. It's because of how my parents taught me. So
absolutely.
I know that even when my father was busy shooting, okay, he would make it a point to come to leave me to school, drop me to
Wow.
school daily at the timing, whether he has slept in the night, not slept in the night, whether he's even outdoors. He would maybe catch a train at 3 a.m. to reach
Kidding
me.
me.
I'm serious. During my school days, he was doing Ramayan. So
Yeah.
he was stationed in Umargaon, where the shooting used to take place, and he used to make sure that most of the time, I mean, 90% he managed. Unless it wasn't possible, then my mom would take me. But I was never left on the driver or the maids or the servants. My mom would come to drop me on the way to school. I was imparted with good knowledge, and knowledge need not be boring. Let me tell you. I mean, I learned that from my father. I used to listen to Michael Jackson bad daily while going to college. I went to school, okay, and my father used to play it, and he was like,
Yeah.
"I'm bad, I'm bad." I was like, "But don't be bad, because bad means really kick-ass bad. It doesn't mean you can
Yeah.
bash up people." Because there was a time when I heard bad for 3, 4 days. I went to school and bashed up my colleagues. I poked the umbrella into my colleague's eye. I
Oh
was
my
up to a lot. I was a mischievous kid. I mean, I was pretty much going to be thrown out of school because of lack of discipline and violence. Not because my only saving grace was I was good at academics.
yeah.
I was all right.
But you're saying your parents were very hands-on. That's what you're saying.
Absolutely, because that personal attention is very necessary in those nascent stages of upbringing, where you have to be shown and educated what's wrong or right, what's good for you. I often tell this,
That's
I often believe in this. It's not always essential to do what is right. It is always essential to do what is good.
yes. Yeah. Because what is right may not be right always.
No, it may be right by the book. It may not be good for
But
someone.
what is good for you, which means you're following your own internal compass.
Absolutely. Not only
If
for
there-
yourself, but you also have we are human beings. We are that unique race that has been given the power of understanding empathy,
Yeah.
understanding others' pain.
Yes.
I mean, and today I'm seeing videos that are going viral where animals are showing those traits.
I love those videos. I love them. I mean, I don't
And
watch them. I have to, I think I'm getting addicted to them because I get so much pleasure from. I think I've sent you a
yes,
couple. I
yes,
saw
yes.
because I see so much compassion, and I keep wondering, Farhad, what has happened to us? We are highest on the evolution chain, but are we really the highest on the evolution chain?
Now, people have to realize this. And management schools that teach you management, where you get your MBA degree from, okay, instead of just focusing on efficiency, people need to also realize that sometimes you have to give yourself a break.
Yes, you
And
have to.
and in Hindi there's a kahavat which says lambe race ka ghoda.
Ah, yeah. You're in for the long haul.
Yes, you're in for the long haul. So it's nothing is going to be achievable quick. I mean, if you achieve it quick, okay, it's a blessing.
Yes, yeah.
You can definitely try for it and aim for it.
But it's not always a given.
No, it's mostly just say 2 or 3% of the cases that make the quick buck or the quick success. Mostly is the people who were in for the long haul who actually achieve and are successful in life, because success should be measured with the quality of life, of how you live your life and how happy you are, rather than just chasing wealth and money. What is the point if you're going to be, I mean, I've owned the best of cars, I've owned the best of things, whether it's watches, accessories, jewelry, gems.
Yeah,
I've lived the most lavish lifestyle.
yeah,
But
I
there,
know. I've seen that. You dress, you're impeccably dressed, you're always. But the thing that struck me most about you is that you're extremely well brought up and well mannered, and that comes from a strong sense of self. So I just wanted to ask you, Coming back to our audience, which watch my channel because they want to, take their life to the next level. How important do you think spiritual growth through a similar method, whether you take on a mentor, whether you take on a life coach, whether you take on somebody who you trust, who you're asking for help to shape your life because you don't have all the answers. Because the way I'm in a situation when people are when they have their back, and I've dealt with people who are suicidal. So your back is against the wall. You feel the whole world is against you. You cut of reality. You may be extremely intelligent, you may be extremely philosophical, but at that point in time, like you said, you're in a little bubble, so everything goes out the door. How can we help people understand that there out there and there is no shame? Because a lot of in India, abroad people have their shrink on speed dial. Especially if you're a rock star, you have you have a dealer and you have a shrink. But in India, people have drug dealers on speed dial. But if you even mention therapy, please don't tell my wife I come to you. Please don't tell my husband I'm coming for self-help. My God, they make fun of me. How can people come out of this stigma?
I will firstly have to address your question in parts, because in one question there are so many things which need to be addressed.
Yeah.
First thing, spirituality is essential 100% for everybody. Most people, they have confused spirituality with religion.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. But spirituality unites and religion divides.
Absolutely, because religion is man-made and spirituality is soul essence.
Yeah, we look at everything. So I self-realized this particular concept before I could understand it from books. When I was doing my meditation and all, I realized that we are all the things that we look at in the universe are made up of atoms, and subatomic particles. But if you look at those atoms within a microscope, or these things are seen from a spiritual aspect or even from a chemical aspect, they have an atomic number, the atomicity. And those are actually the numbers given to the frequency or vibration.
Yes.
When we could vibrate, and as per the laws of even physics, if you look at the law of resonance, if we could sync our vibration with those atoms, we could actually manipulate or control them to our liking.
Yes, absolutely. Because people only focus on the law of attraction for us, and they fail to remember that the law of attraction is actually a secondary law. Because if you're not in the same vibration of what you want to attract, and if you're not resonating through your emotion what you want to manifest, forget about attraction. It's never. So you're one of the few people who realizes that, because seeing what you manifested in your life has not come because you were handed a silver spoon in your mouth.
No, we have all had our share of pain. We have all had our share of grief and sorrows. I've seen life very closely. In spite of having it all, I've had nothing at a point of time. In spite of not having something, I've had everything in my life. So I've seen both extremes, and it has taught me, realized me, and these are things which even my father and my mother also tells me. Father used to tell me a lot of things. In fact, he was the person who introduced me to spirituality. Now, coming to the other part of your previous question,
yes,
it is definitely, I wouldn't say, we are a nation where people often look into things that are only prescribed to them. So I guess there has to be a movement made where things are prescribed, and people will initially they will have to be enforced to be aware of what is spirituality, to practice spirituality, and especially the youth, because they are the people who are losing touch with even their own self. They don't know what they are made up of. They've not even discovered themselves yet. They're only going by what has been taught to them in institutes. They feel, okay, this is our mission, this is our goal, and this is our vision, and we got to just achieve this. And if we do these set things by the book, we will achieve it. And then there comes in the big disillusionment that, okay, we did everything and still we have not made it. We're not God. So it is again, it's all the process of pursuit of happiness without getting happiness.
Also, it's the Instagram age where you follow people. You have 21 million followers, and you have 11 million followers, and then look what happens.
Even digital marketing is a big illusion.
It is.
Marketing itself is an illusion. Basically, you're tempting people to take things they don't need.
Absolutely.
Where is the social responsibility in that?
And can you also tell people, since you are, in the business, can you also tell people that when you run an ad, there is a lot of subconscious programming which they are doing,
It's all around us. In fact, this is a point which I thought I would be mentioning to you today. Whatever we look at, whether it's even we move on the road, we are bombarded with ads, with images, with perceptions. We have been made to believe certain perception about things without letting all the facts being revealed to us.
Yes.
We are shown a certain side to things. There are a lot of people I meet in my circle when I come across new people who have been kept away from facts. They don't believe, they're not aware of what actually the world is consisting of. Now, the good and bad, it's all part of the same thing. Ever since you look at evolution, there has been the good and bad. Some people have been made to believe that, oh, we live in a beautiful world. They live in that. They love to believe that because maybe not being aware of it or cheating your own self or lying to your own self makes you feel good temporarily.
Yes.
So it's foolish because it's only going to give you temporary relief. It's not going to let you achieve your goals. It's not going to give you ultimate happiness. You're going to be stuck somewhere in the middle. Either you will have to accept, those challenges, or you got to be aware of them. You can't just say that no, these challenges don't exist and I'm going to just go down that road and I'm going to reach my destination.
Because happiness, like you said in the beginning, you can be happy in spite of not achieving something, because happiness is an internal state.
It's a state of mind.
It's a state of mind. So even if you have, miles to go before you become somebody who you want to become, you still have that love and respect for yourself.
These are benchmarks we have set for our own selves.
Yeah. And so at the end of the day, Farhad, would you say that a person who is mentally sick, when you say mentally sick, it could be schizophrenia, it could be different.
I have been counseling a lot of people in my friend circle purely out of empathy.
What would you say somebody who is going through, for all practical purposes, since depression is now being focused upon, I would say there are lots of people who are suffering from low-grade depression.
The good part of it is the same media, which has been at the root of it, has actually brought depression in the limelight, where people have begun addressing and taking note of it. They're at least beginning to realize.
What would you say to a young person, Farhad, who's feeling that he or she has his back to the wall and
be in touch with reality? Take the pains to figure out what is right and wrong for you rather than just absorbing information thrown your way. Be your own judge.
And do you think there is some shame attached to asking for help?
Yes. A lot of people don't want to accept the fact that they would be depressed. They don't want clinical help. As you rightly mentioned, it is easier and cooler to rather hook on yourself to some sort of illegal substance rather than getting yourself out there to a shrink, because if somebody sees you or you got to tell a friend, I went to a shrink, they'll think maybe that society has put a pressure on you that if you are cuckoo, you got to be maybe ostracized, or you're going to be gossiped about or looked down upon. Which again, yes, the society is to blame for. I mean, people have a lot of double standards over here. They live in a lot of false ego. They don't realize that sooner or later in life, if you're going to just be that, मैं तो 56 inch का सीना हूँ, I'm invincible. You are going to be invincible one day.
Absolutely.
You can't fight evolution. You can't fight age.
Yeah.
If you have a holistic way of life, which is basically the art of living.
Yes.
Art of living is not just about yoga. Art of living is not just about certain practices. Art of living ultimately boils down to your awareness and acceptance of the reality and wanting to practice it. Ultimately, all the practices of yoga bring you to that one point of self-awareness.
Absolutely. Yes.
Because there is truth. That is the ultimate truth. Like death is the ultimate truth.
Yeah. And I think people are lost in looking for balance. I really don't think you can find balance.
So people have been given that illusion or that perception that if they do a certain thing, if they wear a certain brand, if they behave in a certain way, or if they have a certain accent, they would be happy, or they would be considered above the rest, which would give them again happiness and make them a leader, or again give them the shift of power, which ultimately would translate into happiness.
Yeah.
But again, that's it's not a fact, because it's not wholesome. So ultimately, if you gotta be happy, it's a state of mind. Happiness can be found in a particular frame of mind, which can only be achieved if you are at peace with yourself, which is the paradox to the entire system of pursuit of happiness. You would be in the pursuit of happiness, you're focused on one center, you're focused on one goal, whereas in happiness you let go to some extent, but you are still pursuing. So I'm not saying that one has to give up. One never gives up. That's not the solution. In fact, one has to be persistent.
Yes.
One has to be persistent, but one has to maintain the intensity and the balance in that when you're persistent. You cannot have an unwholesome persistence.
Yeah, and I think you have to start living in harmony with yourself, with your with your flaws, with your good points, with your good days, your bad days, your negatives, your positives, because that's what makes you who you are, right?
Avril, one more very, very important point which I have been noticing is that people are living in self-denial.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Because when you're not aware, then obviously
they think they are being respectful to everybody, not knowing exactly. I mean, they know what is respect, but they are not being able to practice it. And when they are not practicing it, they are not aware what they are giving out. They're not being. They would say that, oh, I've been respectful. Okay, so I've told you that I don't want to talk to you. Just give me an example. So they'll say that, okay, if you still have an emergency and you're talking to me, that still is disrespectful as per them. So they are not in touch with reality. They can only see their own self. They have a tunnel vision. They're like horses with blinkers on a race that just knows how to reach its goal, not knowing that at the end of the race they may have a heart attack and that horse will die, which happens many times.
Yes,
and the horse has to be shot dead.
And I think that this is kind of creeping into a lot of youngsters' lives. They're starting
absolutely.
At 13, 14, because there's so much peer pressure again. Just like you have peer pressure in Bollywood, you have immense peer pressure in college.
I'm seeing this out of the new crop of management students. I'm seeing this, especially people who have been educated abroad on scholarships, because the whole process of getting that admission, striving, reaching, topping, and then coming back, it finishes off your spiritual side. I mean, you may even say prayers, you may think you are spiritual, but there is no content in that. You're hollow. You're pursuing your goals, your dreams. You can see it's like a mirage. Okay, I can see my goal. They never achieve it. They never reach it. They never achieve it. They never get it. Their life is wasted in that pursuit of happiness.
I mean, there's been so much that we have covered today, Farhad, that it's got to be a two-part video.
As I told you, your last question actually gave me in the moment. It gave me at least 7-8 answers. Every phrase was a question in its own self.
Yes.
That if you would reframe that question, each phrase could be addressed separately with a lot of knowledge which would be imparted and useful. Now, even this, what I'm doing, I'm just doing it because of the hope of people being aware, to be made aware for the benefit of society.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm doing, because, when something happens like this and you have a celebrity involved, people, they start paying attention to it. So
correct. The very aspect, the very objective of having a celebrity is basically because icons are being looked up to. People follow icons.
Absolutely. And I didn't want to make this Q&A about who's to blame. I mean, what's over is over, and let the police and let the investigation take its place. But the crux of today's, or the aim of today's video call with you was, I wanted to make people aware that you don't have to, you don't necessarily have to be centered to be a superstar?
I'll tell you what, one last food for thought that I would end this session at, as we are concluding, should be that when we sleep at the end of the day, before we sleep, of course, we have the practice of yoga nidra and stuff like that as yogis. But otherwise, for normal people, they should be asking themselves that what was their contribution towards the society rather than just themselves.
And I would like to add one more thing to that. You know,
Yeah.
I think that, and this has happened not because I'm a Buddhist or because I do this and because I studied with this yogi and this person. No, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and I've shared that with you also. And I've had to really own my own journey and forgive myself. And
I know you have been very close to Dalai Lama and to Buddhism and everything. The very fact that we can connect, it is because of the fact that we understand life from different perspectives without losing our ground,
yes,
without not being in touch, without while being aware of a lot of things, or the finer aspects of life.
yeah.
And spirituality. Spirituality, nothing, is just an overhyped term. Basically, it's all about life, living life. We call it spiritual, like I'm supposed to be the monk who sold my Ferrari.
Yeah.
But, okay, ultimately it's the way of life.
Absolutely.
It's a pure blueprint of the universe.
Yeah, I think spirituality for me could be boiled down to one word, and it's my truth. What is my truth is my spirituality, which is why one of my taglines nowadays, I keep telling people, stay true to being you, because we're all running in the pursuit of happiness, in the
Absolutely.
pursuit of, and
you have been programmed to behave a certain way with the promise that you will attain your end goal if you behave that certain way. In that process, you're losing your individualism.
And so coming back to this, and what you said leads very well into what I'm going to say. When you go to sleep at night, like you said, how have I contributed, or what is my contribution to humanity, or even to my own life today? What have I contributed? I would like to add one more thing to that. If people can ask themselves first, who am I? And then what have I contributed to society?
Yes.
And my purpose in life. If you can just ask yourself 3 questions every night. Who am I? What have I contributed to the person that I am, or to humanity, or to society, whoever it is? And what is my purpose? Because people fail to understand, Farhad, that your purpose is not money. Your purpose is your internal compass. It's your internal, it's something that is a passion. And you can't be passionate about only money, because money is a means to an end.
We have made money our passion. The system has enabled us to do that. Where values, principles, and traditions have been thrown out of the window, because ultimately, if you got to make money, and where there's jungle law, people who are willing to sacrifice values and principles would definitely attain money better or quicker. But they got to realize one thing, in best interest of humanity and global humanity, I mean to say, they need to realize one thing, that they should look at their own benefit as a byproduct of their contribution to society, rather than looking only after their benefit and then contributing to society.
Yeah,
they could be leaders. They could be leaders. They could be the best of leaders if they contribute to humanity and impact lives by fulfilling lives, by making people's homes, not just houses but homes. Note the difference.
There's a huge difference.
There's a huge difference between house and home. By fulfilling people's lives, by enriching people's lives with substance. So, substance in terms of knowledge, in terms of emotions, positive emotions, relationships, in terms of our responsibility to each other as a community, as a race, as a species.
And so again, what you're saying is basically you're talking about radiating from the inside out. Once you know yourself, once you're aware.
And it has to be a collective. It has to be a collective effort. It can't be just one person.
Yeah.
It can't be one person. It has to be a group. It has to be a growing group. And each individual in that group needs to radiate. only then would there be an impact. So it has to be pretty much like a religion. Unfortunately, religion has not been implied or been made to like it's been divisive.
Yes. Instead of inclusive, it's become divisive. Yes, you're absolutely.
Okay, so
say to we're facing a pandemic. There's so much uncertainty. People want help, but they don't want to reach out for help. I know that a lot of people want help, but they hesitate to reach out to somebody, online because they feel like I don't know how much it's going to benefit me. I don't know what to do.
It's because people in society have been programmed to be judgmental, pass comments. People who are in a better position don't realize the pain of others, and they talk about being respectful to people.
And so what advice would you give somebody who is struggling with mental stability and who needs to reach out to somebody but is not
that person has to take charge firstly of their thoughts. If they let go of the thoughts, I know it is easier said than done. That is that critical phase and time when they require the proper guidance. Okay, now I remember one of your questions I wanted to answer when we were talking about the practice of spiritualism and yoga.
Yes.
A lot of people talk about it. A lot of people want to practice it. They claim a lot. They promise again a lot of happiness if you practice it their way. There are very few people who actually know how to do it the right way. I mean, there are so many forms of yoga that has taken place, whether it is, you can say, hot yoga, steam yoga, blah, 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 but ultimately it's all originated from one form.
Absolutely.
Okay, if you look at even medical science, the logo of medical science is the rising of two snakes through that alchemy. Okay, the logo of alchemy is basically the Kundalini, which if you talk to a normal doctor, he will not acknowledge it. He will not know that.
And don't even know that.
They don't know that. And actually, Kundalini Shakti is that same medicine or that alchemy which resides within all of us. That if one harnesses or taps into that hidden potential, you could cure not only your illnesses on the physical plane but also on spiritual plane and super spiritual being. So it's all about awareness, which over past few centuries we have that knowledge has eroded, that awareness has eroded, and today when you talk about these things, it sound like mumbo jumbo and magic to some people. They don't realize the genuinity and the gravity that these are actually the things from where everything was originated.
Yeah, because yoga is not some esoteric practice. It's actually
not at all.
It's
not make believe. It's not make believe.
Yeah, it's got its roots in science, and now everybody abroad, and especially with something like Kundalini Yoga, where we focus on different body systems, we align, like you said, align, attract, we align everything together.
Avril, natively, if you look at the history of even religion, every religion was formed with one goal. Atma se Paramatma milna, in short, means you meeting the Supreme. The Supreme resides within you. And what is that? And what is that Supreme? The Supreme is the Kundalini Shakti.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's so nice that you're saying something like this, because when I say something like this, people say, no, but I am not the divine. I say you are an extension of the divine.
Because people have been brainwashed to believe that you're a bloody loser, you're a failure. You don't have money, you're a failure.
And you have to go to the temple, and you have to ask the pandit to do some puja for you, or you have to go and type on thread, or you have to go and tell, here's my checkbook, take 10% of my income, ask Jesus and he'll give you something.
Not only that, now, originally when these sciences were formed, or even the practice of going to a temple, basically those vidhis, or you could say those acts, were put into place to basically invoke a certain energy.
Absolutely.
To increase your frequency, your vibration.
Because when you go into the space where the energy is pure and where the energy is
exactly, it's not about putting a tilak or tying a certain thread or doing a certain act that is just going to manifest, and it's going to give you like God is going to get happy with you and like you are my kid, now take this. He's not going to throw it in your lap. Okay, that's luck. That's luck. Where luck is something where you can say the play of odds comes into being.
Absolutely, yeah.
But these were basically formulated, these acts were formulated to increase your frequency, to increase your vibration, to rise above the negativity,
Yes.
make yourself more positive, which would empower you to achieve and strive harder.
It was also like a safe space that was provided for people.
And in a holistic way, because it gives you not only physical space, but it also gives you mental space and emotional space.
And that's very important.
Those sounds, the sound of the bell, has
Yes.
a scientific effect on our physiognomy.
Primordial sounds at certain frequencies which affect your chakras.
Exactly, the mantras. Correct. And ultimately, if you look at the end goal of it, is all about rising the kundalini. Whether it's purifying the chakras, how do you purify the chakras? So it is with the frequency, or which is with certain prayer, which was also mantras were made to target certain chakras.
Exactly.
To remove blockages, emotional blockages, so that your kundalini rises.
And people don't realize that even when you pray to an enlightened being is not going to save you from something that you yourself.
The enlightened being can only guide you for you to practice and save yourself.
And I'm glad that it's coming from you who's, for lack of, a better term, you're a Hindu.
I believe in being a human being.
But you know what, when you say Farad,
my mom's a Parsi, my
Yes.
dad was a Punjabi. Okay.
But
If you look at my forefathers, they had come from Portugal. So my family tree. So
no, but you know what I'm saying, Farad? I'm saying that we are basically, I was born a Roman Catholic, and we are looked at in our own country as foreigners.
Correct.
I had many political groups to tell us pack up and go. Go where?
Racism is an issue which were formed with a few people in power only to consolidate power in their own hands, by taking it away from the rest.
When this astute kind of advice about spirituality comes from a so-called Hindu person who is intelligent, who also goes to a mandir probably, or a gurudwara, or a fire.
I go to all the places of worship.
But when it's coming from a bona fide legitimate Hindu, then what?
I refuse to be called a Hindu. I don't want to limit myself.
Yeah, no. But you know what I mean. People take because every religion is very, very, it's very, very grounded in a person, and people don't realize that
it's imbibed to the bones of people from childhood, because
the original reason why religion was formed is exactly what you said, to give people a safe space, for a sense of community, for a sense
and those each of these religions were formed in an ambience of negativity, where there was crime, where there was a lot of pain of society. So religions were formed in the midst of that.
People, right?
To give direction, to enable survival, to enable a lot of, you can say, holistic development of society. And then, of course, once power comes in the hands of few, it gets misused. And then people are brainwashed into believing something else.
Yeah.
They lose the focus, they lose the prime objective of the religion. Is lost, which is spirituality.
Exactly, that's what I was saying.
So it becomes divisive then.
So at the end of this, what would be your advice to people right now during this global pandemic about finding their true essence? How can they better to
Recently, there was also a case in the US concerning racism, where a black person was attacked by a cop, differently than a white person would be. I got to just tell people who practice or have any thoughts of racism that if really it was something which was natural or intended, tomorrow if you are in need of blood in a hospital, then you should put down the condition that you would only accept the blood of someone who would be your race. Because if you're accepting blood donated by someone who's not from your race, you have no right to survive then. You can't accept. I'm sorry?
I said that's something to think about.
It is, absolutely. I mean, it's hypocritical that we practice religion, we are divisive amongst ourselves as humanity, as a human race, and then when we are in need of blood, we accept any blood that is given to us.
And that's again a double standard.
Absolutely, it's hypocritical and it's a double standard.
Yeah. So do you think that at this point in time, when we are facing a global pandemic, we are facing racism, we are facing mental illness, I mean, there are so many issues. I think that people should really stop bothering about other people's business and look within. Because every revolution, I think, starts with one person. And if each person can spend 5 minutes a day looking within, who am I? What is my purpose? What am I doing?
I have a few examples of people who have wanted to practice this, but they are so far and wide and they are so isolated that when they are put in their native environment, they have no motivation to practice it over a period of time because they have been battered by those who don't around them. It needs to be, again, as I told you, humanity needs to be made a religion. Religion, right now, the key religion that we all need to follow in these times is humanity.
Absolutely. Yes.
It needs to be implemented, as I told you. Masses implement things only when it is being imposed upon them. Otherwise, it doesn't come into practice, doesn't come into being.
Yes.
When it is an accepted norm that humanity is a good religion in best benefit of all, it needs to be imposed upon the masses to be practiced with stringent laws, which would otherwise be above money.
But at the moment, that seems to be a long time in the coming. So I'm asking you, don't you think then that each of us has a duty to ourselves, to
We
start
should.
for
We
ourselves?
need to. It is a need. I would say it is not an option. It is a need because if we do not practice that now, we are going to cannibalize each other. We're going to finish each other.
Yeah, I mean,
We're going to eat. We are going to eat each other up, and we're going to be left with wealth. So basically, if the wealth is divided among, say, 1 million people, it would be ultimately be divided only amongst 10 people when everybody else is finished. And from that 10 also, ultimately, there's only going to be one person left with that wealth. What is he going to do with it? Eat that money? We can't metabolize currency.
So I think the takeaway.
We as human race, as a species, we are planning to settle down on the moon and Mars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Elon,
even there, we are going to carry these same concepts and we're going to popularize it, and we're going to implement the same concept of wealth. And there also, we are going to try and make our own territory and mark our own territory and consolidate power into the hands of few. So why are we going over there? Only because we want to victimize some people to take their power into our hands.
And to prove that I did it.
But that proving is a pursuit of happiness. You're not going to be happy. There are going to be tens and thousands of problems once you reach over there.
And
your problem to breathe, your problem to eat, your problem to grow food, the problem of survival. There are going to be fresh challenges.
And also the pursuit of happiness doesn't always end in happiness.
Doesn't, never. It only ends in the pursuit.
Yeah. So I think the main takeaway, we have discussed so much and I'm so thankful, and it's been 90 minutes. What we originally thought was going to be 70 or 75 minutes, and I'm so thankful for your time. But I think at the end of the day, I would like the viewers to take away from this, Farad, that you've given us so much of an insight from the corporate sector, from Bollywood, from just being a normal human being, just being a human being, forget normal, forget celebrity. I think the one thing that people can take away what we've spoken about, for which I'm extremely thankful, is that in the pursuit of happiness, don't lose yourself, because in the pursuit of happiness, there's no guarantee that that shiny object is actually happiness. You have to be happy internally in order to pursue whatever you want, whether it's Bollywood, whether it's corporate, whether it's to be a sadhu, to be anybody. You have to be happy within.
I would like to firstly thank you, Avril, for throwing light on the right aspects, the right challenges that we face as a humanity.
Thank you.
As a human race. I would like to just highlight one last point in today's session, that we have lost touch with even our native evolutionary instincts. For example, it's not that I'm against any industry, but you have scents, perfumes, okay? we have been programmed to like a certain scent, which is not natural. But if you look at it from an evolutionary aspect, each individual person has a scent which is that person's signature.
Absolutely. Their own pheromones.
And they're all pheromones. They're meant to be, originally, those are the pheromones which are meant to even promote attractive instincts.
Yes.
Between opposite genders.
Yes.
But today there has been a research which shows that a big part of the population has lost that instinct. We are so dependent on the artificial fragrance that in cases when they have been given the natural fragrance, they actually find it repulsive.
Yes, I know that. Yes, I mean everything has to be staged or everything has to be artificial, right?
Process, and it's so unwholesome that it has a cascading, it has a domino effect. It's going to come and hit back at us, and it's very close.
So do you think that it's time for us to go back to our roots?
We may have to be thrown back to the Stone Age to re-evolve ourselves in perfection.
But we can always start from within. Wipe the slate clean for yourself and think that today is the first day of your rebirth and start from today. I don't think it's ever, I believe in the adage, better late than never. It's never too late. It's never too late.
It's paradoxical that sometimes regression is a sign of progress. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think I'm going to end with that. Regression can be a sign of progress. So don't ever feel, anybody watching Dr. Farhad and me today, don't ever feel that you're alone. There are people who help you, and it takes courage to just pick up the phone or get in touch with somebody, because the only thing that you have in the balance is your life. And when I say the only thing, that is really the only thing that you have. So if you are in need of any kind of help, reach out to somebody. And if you're lost, start from within. Just close your eyes for 5 minutes after you watch this video and ask yourself the question, who am I? What do I want? And what is my purpose? If you can stay true to that, I think then each one of us can start a revolution within ourselves, and we can radiate that out using our Kundalini energy and putting it towards the greater good of mankind. Would you agree with me?
100%.
Thank you so much, Dr. Farhad, for this wonderful time together. Your smile is radiant, your energy is off the charts, your knowledge is great, and your manner is good, and your practice and sadhana to Kundalini, yoga, Kundalini Shakti, and the little help that I have been to you makes me extremely honored.
You've been a big help in my practice of Kundalini. I had a few missing links, which you have filled up the jigsaw puzzle for me.
Yes, but it's your sadhana. So you're a student who really takes the knowledge and puts it into practice. You don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. So I'm going to love you and send you lots of blessings, send everybody lots of blessings. And I would just like to make the intention that whatever merit is dedicated from the session, I want to dedicate it to all sentient beings everywhere who are finding a problem to find themselves, to find help, and to find that true compass of Kundalini Shakti within themselves. Help is there, just reach in and find it. Thank you once again. Lots of love and light to you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Thank you, Farhad. Thank you. Bye-bye.